Toastmasters, good evening.
Good evening.
Fellow Toastmasters, members and guests. PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City. Can anybody take a guess what these four companies have in common?
Money. Your credit card.
My owner.
Well, all these things are correct that I'm hearing, but there's one vital thing, and that's that vital thing that I want to talk to you guys about today. These four companies were started or co-founded by one particular person that I've come to greatly admire. And that person's name is Mr. Elon Musk. This man, I would say, deserves just as much recognition as Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and all these other people that have done tremendous things for our world here. And I just want to kind of highlight some of the things that he's done over his time. So the way that he started off with PayPal first. Now we're all familiar with what PayPal is. It's just a pretty convenient way for us to be able to just shop online, right? You buy something, you just click on the little PayPal icon, and you're set to go. You don't have to enter your credit card information, and there's also security with it. Well, before PayPal actually started, this was during the time when the internet was fairly new. It was actually called X.com at that time, and people were still trying to figure out what to use the internet for. So he decided that he would actually use it to facilitate our needs financially, right? So he thought that'd be more convenient rather than us having to go somewhere physically to buy something, or for us to physically go to a bank in order to see our bank's accounts or any information like that. He would make it all convenient and accessible online. Now, of course, this was very difficult at that time. There were still little bugs here and there with the internet, but he managed to refine it in such a way that he was able to actually get it approved. He was able to implement all these regulations, laws, and all these things that permit us now to be able to actually do all these things online. So this is how PayPal started. Now, after some time, he sold his rights to PayPal to other people, and with the money, he decided to venture off into what he was actually very passionate about, which was space exploration. Now, he was a big fan of NASA and all, but there was one thing that he was very disappointed in, and that's the fact that at some point, once we reached the moon, we sort of kind of like patted ourselves on the back, and we were like, we're the greatest things in the world, right? We touched the moon, great. Well, we stopped innovating. We stopped moving forward after that. We didn't do anything else after that, and he would search NASA's website, and he wouldn't find any missions to go farther than that. So he decided that it was probably just a budgeting issue, right? It's very expensive to do anything in space, so he decided to look into it. He basically took apart everything that's already been invented by NASA, put it together in a more cost-effective manner, and he was able to basically cheapen our tickets, our access to outer space. So just to give you an example of one of the reasons why it's much more cheaper with him now is, for instance, if you see this picture here, when you see a rocket going into outer space, usually the tip of the rocket, that's actually what goes into outer space, right? Now what happens to the rest of the body? You see that the body kind of breaks off into pieces, and those pieces starts floating all over the place. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I always wonder what happened to those pieces, and after reading that book, I realized that these pieces are actually millions of dollars, and they're just floating around in space like they're just garbage, right? So just kind of imagine it being like if we take an airplane, we go to another country, and suddenly by the time we get there, it's only the interior part that gets there where we are, and the wings and everything else is just garbage. It's all over the place. You can imagine how expensive traveling by airplane would be. So that's kind of the equivalent of what's going on here. So what you're seeing in this picture here basically is he actually invented a spaceship that can take whatever it needs to outer space, and then the body of it would actually return back to Earth and actually land the way that you see here through jet propulsions. And it's really cool. If you guys actually see it on YouTube, it's like a sci-fi-ish sort of thing. It looks like seeing Iron Man land on the floor. It's really cool. So SpaceX, that's what he was doing. But during that time that he was doing SpaceX, a couple of people came up to him with an idea and asked them if they could fund their ideas. And their idea was an electric car. Now, at that time, he thought it was a great idea. He was going to endorse it. But unfortunately, the thing is that these people, their idea was just that I want to build a fancy sports car for rich people. But Elon Musk, being the visionary that he was, he decided to take it a step further than that. So he bought the idea from them, and like he did with SpaceX, he took it apart, put it back together in a more economical fashion, and now today, we have what's called the Tesla. Now, what you see up here in the picture up here, that's actually the third model that he's invented so far. And this model, I believe, will be available, I think, starting November, and it actually costs $35,000. So it's actually affordable now. It's not a $100,000 car anymore. So this is another thing that he's invented now. Last but not least, we have Solar City. Now, Solar City is actually not a company that he founded, but I believe he's like more of an investor in that part. He just sort of funds it, and he shows up to the meetings, and he has input in there, like he gives them ideas. And the reason for that is because Solar City kind of works together with Tesla. Because the thing that happens when you buy Tesla, you're not just getting the car. Basically, if you're going to get a Tesla, you need to either have a house, because they would install a supercharger in your garage, which would charge your car, or you would have to live near a supercharging station, which is the equivalent of what a gas station is. So when you actually get the car, they actually work on par with Solar City, because that supercharger is not actually getting the electricity from your house. What's happening is that it's actually being charged with the solar panels that are on the roofs of these houses. And that's pretty much what happens. Not only that, but it can actually be diverted to your house, which means that you're not only charging your house, but you're providing clean energy for your house. So that means your bill is either going to stay the same, or it's actually going to go down. So that's one of the major benefits of Solar City. But these are the things that he's actually gone off, and I would say confidently went and invented, because he has faced so many issues personally trying to get these things started. But I just wanted to be able just to highlight these things that he's created during his lifetime, which I believe he's only in his late 40s, I think. And I just wanted to make it aware, so the next time you guys conveniently pay for anything on your phones, or the next time you're driving around and you see a Tesla and you don't know your cars, just look for that little logo there. You see that T there? That's a Tesla. Or if you just happen to drive by a house and see solar panels on the roof, you pretty much know now that this man out here, Mr. Tesla, or Da Vinci of our time, was the inventor of all that. Thank you.